Now, here's the 4 ratios. We talked about one already, and I'm going to build a little bit of a cheat sheet for you as we go along here. But these are the 4 things, the 4 pillars, if you will, to kind of piggyback onto Steve's pillars that he was talking about yesterday, of what I want you to think about. There's one ratio I asked you to memorize. I want you to know all of these as well. So we're going to be up to 5 before the day is over here, okay? Capitalization rate is one of them. Cash return on investment is another one. Total cash return on investment is the 3rd one. And debt service coverage ratio is the 4th one. I'm going to go through each one of these. I promise you. Do you want that? Yeah. Okay, good. Now, I'm going to go through each one. You'll have a chance to write it down. Remember what we said about her? Don't worry about writing everything down. Just pay attention to me. I love that. I love that. It works here. It doesn't work with my kids. Capitalization rate is a formula, but more importantly, a ratio. Ratios show relationship. All of you guys and girls that are in relationships, you're really in a ratio. That's what you're in. This ratio of capitalization rate shows the relationship of net operating income to sales price. That's the relationship that is being shown when we're talking about capitalization rate. So when someone says cap rate, I want you to think that thing, relationship, NOI to sales price. Now there's a cap rate of the deal. If you took a deal that you're looking at on the multifamily market, 5 units and over, you would say, well, what's the NOI compared to its sales price? And that's the deal's cap rate. You could also say, well, what's the cap rate of the market there? In other words, of all of the Class B properties that are similar to mine, what is its market cap rate? What was the NOI that they sold at versus the sales price? All those sales make up a market cap rate. I usually teach and tell stories, if you haven't realized by now. So this merits a story. Before Heather was in the picture, I don't know what I did, by the way. I don't know how I survived. Right, Daryl? I mean, before Sarah was in the picture, you're like, you were a lost puppy? Right. Well, I was a lost puppy for about 8 years. I was a bachelor. And living in my house, what was unique about that, my daughters live with me, which, you know, I think was great for me, wasn't so good maybe for them sometimes. Of the two, I was a little bit more the stricter one. I know that's hard to believe. But so my daughters live with me, and what I realized about teenagers is not only they have their own language, but it's like a secret society. And what's so interesting was I was once a teenager, and I must have been part of this society, but I don't remember it now as a parent. So as teenagers, my daughters act in this fashion. When they want something from their mother or I, they collaborate. They get together first, and then they approach me at 2 different angles with the same thing. I don't know if this happens with you guys, but this is what happens in our family. So it's 2007 or 2006, somewhere in there. And I can hear Jordan and Peyton upstairs talking. And I just feel like they're collaborating. It's that parent intuition thing going on. And so my room is down on the main floor. They come down the stairs, and it's Father's Day, 2007. And they bust open the door, and they're like, Dad, and they start this conversation. Now let me fill you in what happened prior to that. I had some people over for dinner not a week or 2 before that. And we were sitting at dinner, and I noticed that my knives, speaking of knives earlier, my knives had a hard time cutting warm butter, let alone meat that we were serving. So at the dinner table, someone's like, well, John, you should go get a set of Henkel knives, right? Okay, wait, where do I get these Henkel knives? And they said, well, you get these Henkel knives, you can get them at Costco. Great, I love Costco. You guys go to Costco, right, up there? I love Costco. By the way, a little side tip. If you're hungry and you don't want to spend the money. Go there on Saturdays, make a couple loops around. You know what I mean? Bring a fake mustache with you if you think you're gonna, you know what I mean? You go once around without the mustache, and then you go to the next time around, hey, oh, I got some, yeah, it's very good, thank you. And you might even be able to get another turn in. That's number one. The second thing about Costco, every time I get one of those sampling platters and I eat it, it tastes so much better there than when I bring it home. If I try to make it at home, it tastes something, you know, it's something totally different. Third problem I have with that. I love Costco because in my mind, I think I'm getting like some crazy, Heather won't let me go to Costco by myself anymore. Okay, that's how bad it got. Because I would come home with like a 5-gallon container of like white vinegar, and I would in the house, and I'd be in the kitchen, put it on the kitchen floor, and Heather would be like, what is this for? And I go, I don't know, but it was on sale. John, we don't need 5 gallons of vinegar for any time. Anyway. So, I do. I've got that issue. I'm telling you. So, I go to Costco. I get these knives. And I buy the knife set for $180. Okay? So, back to Father's Day, 2007. The girls bust open my door. And remember I was talking about the language that they have? They're like, Dad, today's Father's Day. We are going to take you shopping. Teenage language means, Dad, today's Father's Day, you're going to take us shopping. That's exactly what that means. I know that now. But then I'm like, oh, that's so precious of you guys. This is awesome. You know, and I'm like, That's the other thing. I always try to walk hand in hand with my daughters. Boy, that thing ended around 12. You know what I mean? So we leave, south side, we drive downtown, and we're actually cutting through Bloomingdale's, the houseware section, to get to their stores, of course. I think their stores are like Forever 21. Does this ring a bell? Urban Outfitters. Are these all okay? So we're cutting through Bloomingdale's to go there. First of all, I've turned into my parents. I know this because they pick up clothes that it's like either ripped or torn or written on, and that's brand new. I don't know, but anyway. So we're walking through Bloomingdale's houseware section. Lo and behold, I see the same knife set that I bought at Costco, not for $180, but for $300. $300. My question to you is, why would somebody pay more for something that they could buy somewhere else for a lower price? You've seen this before, right? Why would they do that? Just a quick show of hands. Lack of knowledge, Larry says. Wayne? Convenience. What else? Location. Customer experience. Okay. Now, let me ask you that question in reverse. Why would a store charge more for something when they know that one of their competitors is charging less? Why do they charge more? What is it?
They need more margin.
They need more margin? Okay. What else?
More traffic.
More traffic? They have the brand value? Okay. So in other words, the Bloomingdale's brand, someone would pay more just to say I bought it at Bloomingdale's. Heck, I'd buy it at Costco and tell people I bought it at Bloomingdale's. But you get my point, right? People pay different things for the same thing. Do you see this? I want to change the screen here because remember this definition. Remember this. This is key to your success. If I switch this, don't you think it's funny that people are buying the same thing but pay a different price for it? I think that's unbelievable to me, but it happens every day. Check this out. If we have 3 buildings, and each building generates an NOI of $10,000. And let's just say that each one of those buildings is in a marketplace in which they have a different cap rate. 0.09, 0.10, and 0.11. Everybody see that? Okay. So if we do the math here, let's just call this CR for cap rate. And over here, we're going to title this value. We know that this is $100,000. We know that this one is $111,000 and oh, it is? You want to bet? You want to bet? You're telling me this is wrong? I think if you did the math, you'd say, John, I'm really sorry. Because I already did it. You do it real quick. Hurry up, you do it real quick. I'll wait. Okay. That's what I thought. So, if you look at this, and we look in the marketplace, and we see buildings with a net operating income of $10,000, that's what you're buying. You're not buying bricks and mortar, you're buying an income stream. You're buying an income stream. Each one of these income streams are priced differently for the same thing. In each one of these buildings, you're buying the income of $10,000, NOI. But each one of these buildings has that income priced differently. Why do I feel like Vanna White right now? They're priced differently. I'm going to ask you this question again. Why would things be priced differently for the same thing? Location. Someone said location. Risk. What else? Now you got it. Stability. All those three answers are perfect. And that's your first major, well, probably fifth today, major lesson in multifamily. You see, you could buy something at a higher cap rate for a lower price, probably because this $10,000 of income is less stable. You're going to work harder for it. The reason this $10,000 of income is more expensive, because it's in a better stabilized market, less risk kind of thing. Does everybody see this? So when people run to me and they say, John, what cap rate should I be buying at? What's a good cap rate, they say? I don't know. We've got to ask the question of, what's the cap rate of the market that we're in? What store are we shopping in, Bloomingdale's or Costco? Because what's a good cap rate at Costco isn't a good cap rate in Bloomingdale's. Cap rate often gets confused when we're talking about return as well. And certainly there's a dual meaning there. I'm not skirting that. But if you go back and look at this formula, of net operating income divided by sales price, you're going to use cap rate with regard to our next formula that we're going to use, cash return on investment, when you have paid all cash for the property. We're removing the debt portion out of it now. And when you pay all cash for the property, let's go back to our skeleton. Income comes in, expenses go out, we have NOI. Because we've paid all cash on the property, do we have debt service to pay? No. So your NOI is your cash flow. So that's where the disconnect comes, or confusion comes, with cap rate. I want you to be aware of that. Some people will talk about cap rate with regard to return, and that's fine, but I want you to know that language, okay? When we add the debt component to it, we have to think in another realm, okay? We have to think of another realm. So that's one side of it. So we're going to go to the next formula. Are we good on cap rate, by the way? Everybody good? Okay, all right. The next thing we want to talk about is cash return on investment, which if there was no debt service, it would be very similar to cap rate. But I want to mention that this formula has to do with, are our CADS, or cash after debt service, as I call it, CADS, C-A-D-S, that's really our cash flow, divided by our initial cash investment. Our initial cash investment. What is that? We need to make sure that there is a understanding of the relationship here, because we are getting cash at the end of our skeleton in cash flow. I want to know annually how that relates, because this ratio is a relationship, to the initial amount of cash that I put in. Does everybody see that? Typically, these numbers, by the way, are on an annual basis. That's how we figure them. So cash flow divided by initial cash investment. That's what I want to be concerned about. We talked about that a little bit in the second day when we were discussing the importance of CROI when we're talking to a partner or an investor or a lender, that type of thing. Everybody got that? Any questions with that? Okay. The cousin to that again, and most of these are related, the cousin to that again is called total return on investment. There are 4 ways that we get paid in real estate. And those 4 ways are this. Cash flow, appreciation, amortization, depreciation, not necessarily in that order. Cash flow is the cash component of how we get paid. The 3 shuns are the non-cash component of how we get paid. Now, when we're thinking about structuring a deal and paying people back and stuff like that, I want you to consider that you can pay people back in more than just cash flow. You can pay people back in some of these other things as well. And we talked a little bit about that as well the second day. So you may want to review those notes. But I want you to think about those 3 ways when we're going back to this formula of total return on investment. Because what our objective is here is to see how much clearer or detailed of a picture it is to show the relationship between things like our cash flow plus our, by the way, when I put principal reduction, that's the same word as amortization. The relationship between our cash flow, amortization, or depreciation, or appreciation, you could put all 4 of those things on the numerator of that equation. And then we divide those by our initial cash investment. Typically, that will be our down payment and closing costs, to keep it simple. If our cash return on investment is, say, 10, by adding these other items, non-cash items, to the numerator, we are having a total return on investment that's probably going to be higher than that, 13, 14, 15%. Does everybody see that? Questions on this?
The appreciation would be the only speculation on that equation, would it? Like you can predetermine all the other numbers.
You can predetermine, and you are going to have a little speculation with appreciation. But remember what I said earlier today, Chris. And his question is, for those of you out in TV land, his question is, appreciation would be the only speculation on that top line, wouldn't it? Or you said A. Eh?
Yeah,
that's right, eh? And that's true. But we talked about this morning. You want to at least highlight or identify what your play is on the property, and you need how many? 3. I'm going to do A, B, and C to this property over the next 18 months or 12 months to drive its value. So yes, there is a little bit there, but you want to work that play. More importantly, at the end of the first year, you want to work this, and you'll know what that thing is probably appreciated to as well. Okay? Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Appreciation is really speculation on the 4 units and under.
Before you do, right.
Because this is really what we drive.
This is a science.
Yeah,
you can take the increased NOI divided by that market cap rate that we talked about earlier, and you are going to get very close to the value. Okay? Very good, eh? Nice, I like that. Debt service coverage ratio, the fourth one. Actually, the fifth one if you include value. Debt service coverage ratio is showing you the relationship between net operating income and debt service. It shows you the relationship between net operating income and debt service. So the formula, net operating income divided by your debt payment, this is annual, by the way. If I gave you an example of $306,419 as an NOI divided by $200,239 as a debt service, that would give us a DSCR of 1.53. In the marketplace, that would be a very healthy DSCR. I have here banks want to see a DSCR of at least 1.2. A lot of banks today want at least 1.25. But debt service coverage ratio, again, shows the relationship of how well that NOI is able to service that debt. How well you can cover your debt. So if I took this and I broke it down a different way, and I took that, let's just say 1.25. Does anybody know what the number on the left side of the decimal point represents? That represents how well it services debt. If there's a 1 there, it tells you that it services debt at 100%. All of your mortgage is getting paid. What is the number to the right side of the decimal point equal? And what do we call that? That's our CADs, right? We want to have a buffer with this formula. That's why when I ask people the question, are you over leveraged? And they'll say, no, not at all. I service my debt. Well, you can service your debt and still be over leveraged. Why? In multifamily unit investing, stuff happens. How water heaters go out, tenants don't pay their rent. Not only do you want a reserve, but you want a buffer there. So my answer to that to everyone is this. Know whether or not you're over leveraged and use this formula to tell you. If your debt service coverage ratio on a property that you own today is less than 1.25, you are over leveraged. You need to change that. If you don't look at that, a bank certainly will. They won't look at it so much on 4 units and under because they use the cousin to this and it's called debt to income ratio. But 5 units and over, guys like Chris and guys that Chris are going to use this ratio every day. If you're looking at the numbers and the debt service coverage ratio is 1.10, and before you send that to Chris, you need to tell him that and why this property is different. It's half vacant, bad management, good area. You need to prep Chris on that so Chris is prepared when he presents it to his or her investors if you're not using this Chris. Okay? I would really know those ratios. So if I were to create, actually I don't want to do that. Let's back that up a second. If I were to create a cheat sheet for you in your mind, this would be it. Because I think this will really help you. Now, I only want you to carry this around for today, right, Gilbert? Tomorrow I should be able to ask you any one of these formulas and you should know them, right? Totally. Right. I love, Gilbert is Mr. Confidence. I love it. You got a tan, man. You look good. Not that you don't look good when you don't have a tan. I don't know where I'm going with this, Gilbert, but just stick with me.
Happens when
You were in Maui. Got it. All right. Very good, man. Maui. Here's my cheat sheet to you. If I had to review of all the stuff that I think is important that I delivered to you so far, it would be this. Value equals NOI divided by, I'm just going to put an M there, market cap rate. Cap rate is going to equal NOI divided by sales price. Cash return on investment is going to equal CADS, which is cash after debt service, or cash flow, same thing, divided by initial cash investment. Total return on investment equals possibly your CADS plus all the shuns that we talked about. Divided by your initial cash investment. And finally, DSCR, which is going to equal your NOI divided by your debt service. Sorry, it's not all fitting on the screen, but maybe I can fix that. Anyway, you get the point. What I'd like to do is just take a couple of questions and make sure you're rounded off and completely satisfied to this point. So Chris, if you could, I'll repeat the question since we don't have our mic guy running around. Yes?
You hear the term cash on cash a lot. Which one is that?
It would be cash return on investment. Cash on cash would be cash return on investment.
So, okay.
Okay, good question. Yes?
If the debt service cover ratio jumps out at you as being really high,
Yeah.
what kind of signal does that give?
Well, a lot of times I will see properties in which it's got a high cap rate. From what we've learned so far, that could tell me or give me an indication that the NOI on that may be not as stable as it should be. Typically, when you have a high cap rate on a property, when you look at the debt service coverage ratio on it, it's high. Who asked that question? You did, right? It's high. So it's going to be 1.35 and higher, 1.4 and higher. And usually that gives me an indication that something's going on there. Management, overstated income, understated expenses, that type of thing. Okay? Good question. Yes?
John, does cash return on investment and total return on investment work if you finance commercial property with, let's say, 30% borrowed money
30%
and
world money? Oh, borrowed money?
from family and 70% from banks? Everything's
Okay, so you've got 100% finance. You're not putting any money in it, and you're not putting any money in it, but you're receiving cash flow. So cash return on investment at that point would be infinite, correct? Because you're not putting any in, your return would be infinite. So yes, that formula would work, but you kind of get a weird answer. Okay? Yes?
So on your sales price, is that like the all-in cost or just the sales price?
Just the sales price. Yep. Anybody else?
Is pro forma a red flag then? How do you answer with pro forma? How do you deal with pro forma?
Pro forma's not necessarily a red flag, but I want to understand what the investment is. So when the market or the agent is saying, hey, we're asking this sales price on it, I want to say, how'd you get to that price? There's been many a conversation that I've had with a commercial real estate agent that has priced a multifamily property, and I will ask them, how did you guys come up with that price? Because the way I see it, the net operating income of this property compared to its cap rate, compared to the market cap rate, we're talking about a $100,000 difference. And I'll let them state how they came up with that. Maybe I've missed something. Doubt it, but maybe I've missed something. And we have that conversation. There's been times where I've pointed out to the agent, well, this is what the market cap rate is and why. And to be frank and be upfront, there was one time in my career where I was pointed out that I was wrong. Anyway, I'm just kidding. That happens more times than not. I'm wrong as well. So you want to open that dialogue to make sure that you understand the dynamics of how that was priced. Yes, we got the mic coming. We got Yoshi now.
When you get an appraisal done on a property, will you know what formula the appraiser used? Or like, what if he's using a, like
You're gonna get
obviously
the
he'll use some comparables and some,
You're going to get the appraisal. It's an inch thick.
yeah,
And you're going to read, there's going to be a section on there of those 3 techniques.
yes.
And they will actually say most weight was put on value by using the income
So
capitalization
they'll
approach.
disclose
They will
their
disclose
rating.
that, absolutely.
Okay, excellent, thanks.
All right, good questions. We got one up here, Yosh.
John, the abbreviation TRDI and CADS, can you just...
TRDI? That's TROI. Can you imagine that? TRDI. I don't have the notes on that. Total return on investment. And CADS, cash after debt service. That's your cash flow. That's the feet on the skeleton, if you would. Okay? All right, we'll take 2 more and then we got to roll. Yes, Danielle.
The debt coverage ratio, you mentioned if it was above 1.35 or 1.4,
Yeah,
you
that would
start
be-
looking at things differently. But
Yeah.
is that maybe a good sign that there's an opportunity there? Either it's a good deal, they got
Yeah.
to dump it, or
But I still want to
you-
notice it because more times than not, when I'm looking at deals, you'll actually see this when I'm working your deals, and you bring me the deals tomorrow. I'm going to go through this exercise, and you'll see what I mean. Something's going on there with the property.
But it could be a good sign.
It could be, yeah. I don't always look, when a red flag, I just want to explore it. It could be good, it could be bad. Okay? Chris.
I actually have 2 questions. The appraisal that comes in, do they just give you like a dollar value and say it's weighted this way or that way? Or do they give you like, if I analyzed it this way, the building's worth this, replacement cost is
Yeah.
this? So
Yeah.
you actually get 3 different prices?
You'll actually get 3 different, on each one of those techniques, it'll list what they've come up with as value, but there'll be, at the end of that, a summary that says, basically, taking all of those into consideration, I'm putting most weight on the income capitalization approach, and this is the value that I state from that.
Oh, okay, cool. My other question was for the market cap rates. Can you get that kind of stuff from CoStar, or do you always have to go to appraisal
Yeah,
appraiser or whatever?
you could talk to a commercial appraiser, a commercial real estate agent or broker, or where I go a lot is I read the reports on Marcus and Millichap, and I'll go to the local apartment report, and I'll go to the 3rd paragraph under sales trends. I know I sound, you're like, this guy's a nerd. I go under the 3rd paragraph under sales trends, and typically that paragraph talks about cap rates. Okay? All right, I'm going to change the rules. I'll take 2 more. We'll go here and then here. Yes?
How do CBR's cap rates compare to Marcus and Millichap's?
How does, what now?
CBRE.
CBRE?
CBRE's cap rates.
I mean, they're fairly similar. Yeah, they're all pretty much right on.
Okay. When you go to do your example of explaining something tomorrow, can you show us the shins of how you would do that to try to show the value of it? And
The shins, the shuns.
The shuns.
Yeah.
Depreciation.
Yeah,
that-
sure.
so actually
Remind me
see
about that tomorrow. Remind me of that. Very good.
Not
I
just
will
the
absolutely do that.
definition,
Yep,
but actually
sure.
see it in
Yep.
process?
We actually did that the 2nd day. Were you here for that?
I've been to other ones.
Okay, you weren't here. Interesting. I got you. I got you. Give me 5, Ed. Give me 5. Give me 5. Both of you guys. Anyway, go ahead. Yes. I will do that. Remind me. Are you guys having fun, by the way? This is fun stuff. I'm having fun. Yes.
Just to go back, John, to sales price versus initial cash investment, like one of your ratios, cap rate, choose sales price, CROI and TROI use initial cash investment. We're used to dealing with purchase price plus rehab costs to get our all-in costs.
Yeah.
Why the difference there?
Well, you could do that on your cash return on investment. That's not a problem. But when we're talking cap rate, typically when you're defining cap rate in a market, it's NOI divided by sales price. That's typical. Could you factor in some of those? Sure, especially on cash return on investment because you're going to have an additional cash outlay. Absolutely. Okay.